Hi everyone, Scott Minto here. Hope you're well and safe during these strange times. Well, look, I'm really pleased to be joined by the Huddersfield Town manager, Danny Cowley, for the EFL and Minds Inside the Mind Of series for mental health awareness this week. Danny, how are you? You're looking well. How's lockdown?
Yeah, it's good, thanks, Scott. It's obviously a little bit unusual, very different to what we're used to. My kind of life has been at 100 miles per hour for as long as I can remember it, and obviously off the back of this situation, things have changed dramatically. But just trying to see the positives in the moment, and taking some time to reflect, taking some time to try to learn and try to move our skill set forward. So no, we're trying to make the most of it. We're hoping that there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel now with regards to going back to training, but we're obviously still waiting for some clarity from the AFL.
Yeah, who are you at home with?
Well, so it's just my wife Kate, and my two children. George is 6 and Isabella is 10. But we live next door to Nicky, so my brother. So yeah, so he's got 3, but he's got a brand new one in Elsie. So she's just literally a couple of months old. So yeah, no, he's got it tough next door. It's a bit easier here.
So it's kind of one big family, but your side of the family are sleeping better than his right now.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a lot quieter in this house than it is next door for sure. But we've been having some conversations over the garden fence, and actually we have lots of Zoom calls, which is crazy in itself because we're literally stone throw away. But no, this is the way we're having to live at the moment.
You can almost hear each other as well as through Zoom over the fence. But I mean, look, you used to be a teacher. Am I right in saying that your wife is a head teacher? So homeschooling, no problem at all at the moment?
No, so yeah, we're both teachers. I was a teacher for 15 years in my previous life. So it's certainly a lot easier teaching other people's children rather than your own. But no, we're lucky, both George and Isabella. They love school and they love learning, and the school that they go to have been brilliant in terms of their support. Some of the teachers' work and during this time has been fantastic, and it's made learning really enjoyable. And I've been taking some of the PE lessons, which has been some good fun, and also trying to help with some English and maths, which has been more of a challenge.
What's your strong point? What's your weak point?
PE would be my strong point. Then probably English. We're quite lucky, myself and my wife, because she's much more sort of maths based and science based, and I'm more maybe English based. So yeah, and the children are very different. It's amazing, isn't it? They kind of have the same nature and a similar nurture, but they're very different in terms of their skill sets. So George finds maths really easy. He's got a little calculator brain, whereas Isabella's more sort of English based and has a creative mind.
Yeah, my kids are not listening to their teachers right now, so I might get a bit of advice to you afterwards. No, I have to say, they're working hard considering what's going on. How are you in touch with your 3? I've got 3, yes. So I know what Nicky's doing through.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you in touch with your players right now?
In a number of ways. We've been having some Zoom calls, so we've been some of the sessions, particularly some of the recovery-based sessions and some of the strength and conditioning-based sessions we've been doing via Zoom, just to try to create a social dynamic as well as a bit of a competitive edge. Had regular conversations with them on telephone, via message, just trying to give them as much structure in their day as possible. I think that this is really, really important. So most days they've got 2 training sessions to do, and obviously the world of technology that we live in today, we have GPS bells, heart rate monitors, they have apps that we can pretty much track everything that they do, which has obviously been helpful from our perspective. And yeah, just trying to give them as much routine. So the work that they're given, they have to do the first part of the work by 1 o'clock. So ultimately it gets them up, gets them out of bed, have to have their breakfast, then they can do their session. They then have to put app and send the information across, and then in the afternoon they do a strength and conditioning session, which is in smaller groups, which is led by one of our performance guys. So no, regular contact, and obviously it's a difficult moment for footballers because they're so used to the team dynamic, they're so used to being outside and being able to exercise and train freely. So it has been different, but ultimately as a society, we're all facing different challenges at the moment.
We'll come more onto mental health in just a bit, but in terms of your players, have you, and obviously you don't mention names, but have you found that some are perhaps dealing with the lockdown better than others, and have you needed to maybe speak to some more than others?
Yeah, I think so. I think naturally, some have been able to cope better than others. When I look at our group, we obviously inherited the group in mid-September, and the club had a difficult period particularly in the second season in the Premier League, and definitely it had taken its toll on some, both players and staff, that journey. And we were well aware of that. And I think the first thing for us is always in trying to build relationships. That's what we always try to do. I always try not to coach the players until I feel that I've built a relationship with them, that we've got a level of understanding, a level of respect, and maybe a building of trust. And then at that point, I think that you can start to try to influence people, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch. But no, definitely, the better understanding you can have of your players, the more you're able to support them. And sometimes it's just talking, isn't it? And it's just having the opportunity to lend an ear. And I always say to the boys, I don't have all the answers. I wish that I did, but ultimately I do care and I do want to help, and just try to make them feel that my door's always open to them, whether it's a football-related matter or even a non-football matter.
And we'll come on, as I say, more to mental health a little bit later on. But I want to talk to you about your career as well, because it's a fantastic rise, isn't it? From Concord Rangers and Braintree as well. Did you and Nicky as well believe, when you were PE teachers, that at any point you'd be managing in the second tier of English football?
I think you always have to believe, don't you? I always say that only we control our destiny. We ultimately, I believe, we can be anything that we want to be in life, and we believed in our work ethic and also our skill set. And the one thing that I spent the first 30 of the first 35 years in education of some form, either as a pupil, as a teacher, or as a coach. And I think the thing that it's taught me is to always to keep learning and keep trying to find new learning. But no, it's been a good journey, an enjoyable journey, and we've loved every minute of it.
Is that right, that in the non-league days, your travelling fans would have a whip round to buy you a pre-match meal from Asda or Tesco or something like that?
Yeah, this was it. This would have been back end of Concord and Braintree, definitely. We would at Braintree, particularly because it's a national the National League. It's a nationwide division, so we'd be travelling up and down the country, going to Barrow on the day, which would be about 6, 7, 8 hours journey, coach journey. And we didn't really have a pre-match food organised, or we didn't even have a facility or finance to be able to provide the boys with pre-match meals. So Nicky and I would go to where it depended where the offers were on. So it'd either be Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Asda. And we'd have £40, which we'd spend for the players pre-match. We had to get 18 players their pre-match food, and we'd then charge the supporters who would get on the coach £5 each to travel on the coach, and that would make the £40. But the boys appreciated it, and I think was the food important? Well, obviously it was a marginal gain, but it was more the fact I think that the boys really appreciated the commitment that Nicky and I would give. I can remember these Dalmail pasta pots. They were on special offer, 2 for the price of 1 for about 3 months of the season, and we were delighted about that because it allowed us to work within our £40 budget.
Absolutely brilliant. Very different in terms of diet. I'm sure you've got a chef now and everything. But I'm also right in saying you love your rugby union and was even interviewed by Sir Clive Woodward. Yeah,
this is right. Yeah, so we had an FA Cup run at Lincoln City in our first season where as a National League team, we managed to get to the quarter-final of the FA Cup. And on the back of beating Burnley, actually in the week leading up to the Burnley game, we'd been given all of these media requests via email, but they were all if we beat Burnley. So Burnley obviously being a Premier League team, we kind of took them with a pinch of salt at the time and pretty much ignored them and was focused on the game. But off the back of winning the game, all of a sudden I said to Nicky, come on, let's have a look, what could we do? And we were just about to think we were just about to go and do some commentary for BT Sport on one of their FA Cup games. And then all of a sudden, Match of the Day phoned, and we ended up going on Match of the Day that evening. And the next morning, we did a BBC show with Clive Woodward on the radio, and Nicky and I both, he's a huge role model for us, and someone we really looked up to, and literally had an hour's conversation with him and forgot that it was radio really. I was just trying to pick his brains, and it was a brilliant hour. And off the back of that, he actually got in contact, and he was doing he was writing for the Daily Mail at the time, and he said, could he come over to the house and do an interview? So the Sunday after Burnley, he came around my house at 8 o'clock, and we had breakfast. So we were sitting across the kitchen table with a cup of tea and a bacon roll, which was pretty mad, but brilliant experience. And there was a lot of takeaways from that conversation. He thought he was interviewing me, but really I was interviewing him.
And rightly so, a surreal experience, but one to take advantage of. What did you gain from him?
Oh, lots. He just thinking outside of the box. He'd obviously had real success in business, and he took a lot of his business ideas and his business model and put it into a sporting context. And just in terms of the way he organised his teams, he talks about critical non-essentials. So these things that people perceive to be non-essential, but are actually critical to the success of the team, and really looking after those finer details. He'd always talk about noses pointing in the same direction, which I always found funny, especially with my nose, which points in every other direction. But yeah, just to try to get alignment really with people, trying to get people aligned. And if you can get a changing room where you all have similar values and you have alignment, that can be really powerful. And he spoke about analysis, and that was really interesting. I remember him saying something along the lines of, find the opponent's biggest strength, and really closely you'll find their biggest weakness. And that's always kind of stayed with me, and I've always, whenever I'm looking at opposition, it can often be very true.
Interesting, really interesting. I mean, how do you, looking back, feel that, and you're still on your journey, by no means have you reached your destination, but looking back, how do you feel you've done it from non-league to the Sky Bet Championship? Did you always sort of have the end goal, or was it about just concentrating on the next step, the next game?
I think it's always been on the process, trying to get the process right. We've always tried to be really process orientated. The great thing about success is it creates further opportunity. That's what we always see. And yeah, I think relentless hard work. Again, we're lucky because we're in a profession that we love and we really enjoy. So it depends what your perception of hard work is. For us, it's it's something that we love to do, and certainly at Concord Rangers we would have done it for a long time for free. So no, I think relentless hard work, and just trying to. Our aim is always to try to provide the best environment we can for the players. Ultimately we enjoy waking up and making the players better, whether that's as players or as people. The ambition is always both, but just to try to create the opportunity and the experiences for people to improve. And pretty much every day I wake up trying to be the best that I can be, and making sure that if you never give up, then ultimately you're pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, they're attributes I'm trying to tell to my kids as well, and I think they're so important to try and do that in today's life, even as strange as things are right now. I mean, it shows what can be accomplished by hard work, but also a positive mind. How much emphasis do you put on the mental aspect of the game, of life?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. I'm always, for me, the resilience, the determination and the grit are really important qualities that we look for in people. But I genuinely believe they're qualities that can be trained as well. And if we want resilient players, then we have to train them to be resilient. And sometimes that means taking them out of their comfort zone and making things uncomfortable for them, and really pushing them. I think the greatest respect that you can show any player is try to make them better. and that means that sometimes you need to really drive standards and really push them on maybe days where they don't really want to be pushed. But I think it's hugely important, and you have two ways to look at life. You either see the worst in it or you see the best in it. And I think that's the same with people. You can either see the worst in people or you can see the best in people. And for us, we try to see the best in people always.
You are an ambassador for Mind. How have you managed your mental health in this time?
Well, again, it's, you talk about physical health and mental health, and, physically, I've actually been able to get out and run, and we all bought bikes a couple of weeks ago so we could go on some family bike rides, and certainly we look after our physical health, and but not always, we don't always look after our mental health, and this is something that is as important, if not more important, than physical health as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I think for us it's about having structure. So it's about I've been a teacher, so I kind of use timetables and stick to that. So getting up at the same time every morning, trying to get some structure into your life, making sure every morning just to set a plan. What am I trying to achieve today? What do I want the outcome of the day to be? And then structure it accordingly. And I think that the biggest challenge for me is always that work-life balance, something that I've always found difficult. My wife, I think she calls it football fog. So even when I'm back home, sometimes I can be still caught up in football. Yeah. And I've actually, when I was teaching, so I would have been head of department at a really successful school, Fitzroy Arts School in Rayleigh, and we had a huge extracurricular tradition where we'd be competing sort of at district, county, national, and even at world level. And there was huge demands there. So at that time I would have been manager at Concord Rangers and at Braintree, and I would always come up the same steps every morning. And as soon as I walked up the steps, whatever was happening in my football world, I would just put in a box and just shut that box. And I would walk up the steps, and my only thought would be teaching and the children, because we only get one education. But I would always make sure that at the end of that day, I would walk down the same steps. And the nature of being a teacher, sometimes, you're dealing with matters that you could easily take home, because ultimately you're dealing with people and emotions and people's feelings. But I would always make sure that as I walked down those steps, I would close that teaching box, and then I'd open my football box again, and then I would concentrate on football, and that allowed me to manage the demands of my life, and yeah, certainly helped me.
It sounds like a fantastic philosophy to have in a great way. How easy or difficult was it to do that? Because sometimes people can say, "Oh, try this, try that," but to actually, for the person to do it, it's not as easy as perhaps it comes across as maybe other people looks like it's easier for.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of things are easier said than done, aren't they? But it worked for me. I remember my dad telling me at a young age that if you kind of think about all the important things in your life, so for me it would at that time it would have been my job, which was teaching. It would have been my family. It would have been football. And then it's about trying to keep all of those balls up in the air at the same time. Now, very rarely do all three or all four of the most important things in your life go well at any one time. But if one's going badly and you let it affect the others, then you end up dropping all of the balls. So trying to compartmentalise, I think, can definitely help. But like you said, it's something that you have to train your mind to do. And if you can do that, then like I said, very rarely does everything in your life go well at the same time. So trying to compartmentalise can help.
Yeah, life's just not like that, and resilience obviously very, very important. So what advice would you give to people who perhaps, whether it be football fans, maybe even your own players, or just other people generally out there who are perhaps struggling a little bit at this moment, whether it be seeing friends, talking to friends, whether it be the physical activity or any kind of new interests or anything at all?
I just think to try to be open-minded. I think, like I said, it is how we perceive the world, and if you can try to take a positive outlook, and I know for sure that my life's much better because I try to see the good things. I don't get too focused on the bad things. I believe it's so important to talk and just have clear lines of communication. I'll say to my players all the time that I don't have all the answers, unfortunately. I wish that I did, but I do care, and I do want to help. And if they have any problem, whether it be on the pitch or off the pitch, that they know that they can find me and speak to me. And if I don't have the answers, then again, I think this is very important, that if you don't have the answers, that you find someone that can help. And the one thing that I learned in teaching, that, you know, my natural instinct is to help, but I don't have all the skills to. And I think as a professional person, you have to stay in your boundaries of knowledge, and what you know. And if you can't help, because, you know, some people have more difficult problems than others, then to try to find the support services that can help, but ultimately to be kind and to care. I think if you can do that for other human beings, then they naturally reciprocate, and it's amazing what you get back if you're willing to do that. And yeah, that to me is very important. And to always have a goal every day. What are you trying to achieve? I see a lot of people that just kind of drift through life. And I'm always encouraging my children to say, come on, what's the aim of today? What's the outcome? What are we trying to achieve? And then I think once you know what the outcome is, then it's easier to plan backwards. And then, oh, this is life, isn't it? This is where I'm at today. This is where I want to be. Once you've got clarity over the start point and the destination, the stepping stones become that much clearer.
Have you started anything new at all in terms of interest, or have you just not had time with the homeschooling?
Well, luckily my wife's taking much of the responsibility with regards to homeschooling, but I'm supporting where I can, some PE lessons, which has been fun. But no, I think for us, Nikki and I have used a lot of the time just to reflect, really. We always try to reflect, but actually this period has probably taught me that I don't do it in as much detail as I could, and particularly the whirlwind nature of taking over a club mid-season, just to have a look at the different provisions that support the first team and our academy players, and how we can do things better. So that's been really enjoyable. My daughter Isabella, she loves language, so she's trying to teach me some Spanish at the moment, which has been good fun. But I'm naturally interested in learning from sort of the life that I've lived, and I just believe, you know, learning is a skill, and if you can try to teach the skill, I think I look at education today, and everybody teaches a subject, but nobody teaches the skill of learning. And if you can try to create curiosity and teach not just your children, but for me, my aim is to teach the players to be independent thinkers and independent learners, because ultimately when you step over the white line on a match day, you're making hundreds and thousands of decisions, and if you can make them good learners and good problem solvers and good decision makers, then that's only going to help the team.
Definitely. By the way, my wife's Colombian, so her first language is Spanish.
Oh wow!
I met her 20 years ago, and I do remember all the family live in Montreal now. But when the season finished, when I was playing, I used to go there and have 3 weeks over there, and I'd say to them, "Look, please speak Spanish." And they were great. She's got 5 brothers and a brother-in-law as well. A big family, big Colombian family. Yeah. But I'd be practicing Spanish, and I'd be lying there at the night time thinking, "Oh, why did I say that? I can't believe that. What an idiot I made of myself." But then the next day, you'd go again, and you'd go again, and you go again. So no matter how much you feel like you're taking a step back, really you are taking 2 or 3 steps forward. And I think that's the philosophy in life generally. I totally agree with you about teaching to learn, not just the subject itself, but the learning as well. But in terms of the fact that you are an ambassador for Mind, how do you feel about that? How proud are you that they've asked you to be an ambassador?
I think I feel very proud. You know, for me, mental health is so important. I think we've come so far in recent times. Obviously, the Mind Charity does a fantastic job in raising awareness, and I think particularly just allowing people to talk about their mental health. And I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentaries. I don't know if you've seen them, Scott.
I'm up to episode 5, so I'm not up to the latest.
No, we're just hugely inspiring. For me, probably the best sportsman ever that's ever existed. And even him in his journey, he had some mental health issues. So if mental health can affect someone of his stature and his God-given talent, then it can affect everybody. And I just think for us to see it not as a weakness, I actually think it's a weakness if you don't talk about your weaknesses, if you're not aware, if you're not self-aware of your weaknesses. I think that in itself is a weakness. I don't think it's a weakness. I think it actually portrays confidence if you're willing to talk about the things that maybe you're not so good at, or the things where the type of things that maybe you're having problems with. I actually personally see that as a strength in people, and I think that would be my biggest message. Just to be willing to talk about your issues, because we all have them. Doesn't matter what walk of life you are. And the great thing about football for me, more than the actual game itself, is the sense of belonging that football creates. For me, on a Saturday when we go to the John Smith Stadium, it's a family, and you've all got a shared passion and a shared love. And the great thing for football for me is that we all can support each other, not just the 11 players on the pitch, but everybody can all support each other, and that to me is why I suppose I love football.
Yeah, I know Huddersfield as well is great, and on the community side, and not just on about the 90 minutes of the match, but the whole match day experience for the families, and one of many clubs who are working with the EFL on that. But how important do you feel the partnership is between the EFL and Mind in football? Yeah,
extremely important. How far mental health has come in recent years. Now the Mind charity finds itself on all of the kits, which is just magnificent. Got the badges that we wear. I was actually trying to get, we're West Ham supporters, so I was trying to get West Ham United colours. But no, I think it's brilliant. And particularly in men, because I think women naturally do find it easier to talk about their emotions and their feelings, but maybe historically, particularly men maybe of our age.
And in an all-male atmosphere as well, like football.
Yeah, exactly. I just think that sometimes men feel that talking about their emotions and their feelings can be a sign of weakness. And I actually think it's great now that our younger players are so much freer in terms of being able to talk about how they're feeling, and have such a better understanding of their emotions. And to be able to get your emotions in check is something that needs skill. You need to understand yourself. You need to understand your feelings, and then you have to try to put your feelings and emotions in the right place for the given context. Because for me in my life, I have to have a different emotion on a training day compared to a match day, and then a different emotion when I step back into my house with my young children. So it's always about trying to keep self-regulating and self-checking.
So just finally then, Danny, what advice would you give to football fans out there in terms of staying mentally well while we're in this situation, and especially without football in our lives at the moment?
I think you only get one life, and you have to try to make the most of it. So to try to have a really positive outlook every morning, as part of your routine. You get up, you make your bed, clean your teeth, and just a little bit of self-talk. Look yourself in the mirror and make sure that you know what you're trying to achieve that day and what the outcome of that day looks like. And just to keep self-regulated and make sure that you put your mind in a positive place to try to see the best in each other and the best in the world. And if you can do that, then that's a good starting point. And I think from there, to be able to talk and to freely communicate and make sure that you have people that you can go to and that you can talk things through, and see that as a strength, and know that none of us are perfect. And I know that sometimes the world portrays certain people as perfect, but they're not. And we all have our issues, and we all have our challenges. And for me, that we can all strive to be the best that we can be, but ultimately try to enjoy the journey and try not to get too caught up in yourself.
Totally enjoy the journey. Don't worry about the destination. It will happen what's meant to happen. Even Michael Jordan has his issues, as we well know. So there you go. But I know there's a campaign from Mind as well of Have Your Mates Back. So it's about discussing things with anybody about anything. Could be about football, could be about your mental health issues. But all I can say is, Danny, thank you very much indeed for your time today. Really enjoyed
My pleasure, Scott.
Your company. I look forward to seeing you back on the football pitch soon, fingers crossed. And it looks like we're going to both go back to homeschooling now as well.
This is it. Yeah, period 3 awaits.
Thanks very much. Look, remember, if you need any further information at all or advice, just visit mind.org.uk. Thank you very much indeed.